guys, it's Luke from Luke the Gathering. Thanks for being here and checking out my new Magic channel where I'm still trying to learn Magic and play. It is definitely not an easy game to get into, but I'm going to try my hardest to get into it. Been really enjoying the experience so far and getting a lot of experience and learning a lot about the game. That's been amazing. Also got to meet some really cool people, and wow, it's been great. Well, in my last video, I told you that I was going to be going to a Strixhaven booster draft, so I went over there, and I got back, and every booster draft I've done incrementally better, and when I mean incrementally, I mean incrementally, because the first booster draft I ever went to, I did not win a single game. Any of the rounds, I never won anything. And then last week I actually won and went 1-3, but in my other two games I didn't win any of the games within the round. So, it is what it is. But in the draft for Strixhaven, I went 1-3 again, but in one of the other rounds I actually won a game. So there we go. Incrementally better. Very incrementally better. But I'll take it as a positive. And I drafted in Strixhaven. I ended up going for red and white, which is the Lorehold school. I think they also call that Boros. And learning all these terms. But anyways, red and white is what I went for. It was pretty open. I think other folks are drafting other colors. And I did okay. I thought the deck was okay, but after I ran into some larger creatures, and if they were able to survive sort of my more aggressive aggro sort of strategy that I was employing, then my deck was a bit stuck in the water. I did have a couple of tricky plays that I'm going to mention in this video as I go through the cards that I drafted. And then let me know what you think and see the cards I got in the booster draft. I gotta say, I love booster drafts. I think it's so much fun. I love being able to pass the packs and pick the cards you want to put into your deck. I think that's just awesome. I don't think there's any other game that really does that. I mean, if you play board games, there's Seven Wonders where you sort of pass the cards around each turn, and then you try to build your wonder or try to score and all this. But booster drafting in Magic is really cool, and it's pretty complex because you really got to know the cards and you got to know what you're doing. And to jump into that without a whole lot of experience and not knowing the cards makes it a really difficult time. And I can see why Magic would be hard for a lot of folks to get into. It's got a couple of barriers. One, which is that the learning curve. It is a huge learning curve to get into Magic. You got to really gear yourself up to get into Magic, to jump into that. And the second, I guess it's just the fantasy aspect of it. You've got witches and you've got creatures and you've got all these sort of mythical things, and I guess that might seem nerdy to some people, like Dungeons and Dragons. Not for everybody. It's very, I guess, there's a stereotype for people who like Dungeons and Dragons. Not true. I mean, there are tons of people who love Dungeons and Dragons, and you're not like that stereotypical nerd with all the acne and all the stuff on it. That's not the case, but I do think, there are stereotypes and people buy into those. So those are a couple of the reasons why it's hard to get into Magic. Plus, it's also very expensive. If you just do booster drafts and you're paying every time to do the booster draft, and then if you're trying to get into some of the other formats, wow, you're going to be paying lots of money. So it's a huge commitment. But anyways, let's check out the cards that I drafted and see how they did. Alright, first of all, I want to say I bought one of these Dragon Shield Pink Diamond matte sleeves for the tournament to keep the cards nice, and wow, these were great. I loved the look of these. The Pink Diamond especially was great. I actually bought the regular pink, which is okay, but I think the Pink Diamond looked really cool, and so that was nice. And speaking of dragons, this was not a card I played at all, but when I saw it, I just said, I think I have to take this card. It looks so sweet. It's Tenazir Quandrix, the Elder Dragon for I think the Quandrix school, and I just had to take it. It looked really sweet. It's the extended art, so this was one of the cards that I didn't play obviously at all. I was not in blue or green, and wow, it would have been sweet to have this card though. This card came, I think, in the second pack, and so I had already drafted a lot of red and white, so I did not play this card, but I was like, I'm taking it. I'm just going to take it. So there we go. There's that. All right, let's go through some of these cards, and you can let me know your opinion on them as well if you want. So the first one is a Thunderous Orator. He actually was amazing for me. You know, sometimes cards just come into your hand quite often, and this was Thunderous Orator. He came into my hand a lot, and I love that he has Vigilance. He's a 2/2 for 2, and that's a magic term that I'm proud to be able to say, or phrase. His Vigilance, and so he also gains the ability of other creatures that are on the battlefield. So a lot of times I had this guy out with a flyer, and so he was flying around, and I was dealing damage with him quite a bit. So this guy was really well. Did really well for me in the tournament. Got him out many times. We got an Urza's Rage. I actually only got to use this once. And in a game that I lost, I really like the way this card looks. I mean, it looks just spectacular. The foil is part of the Mystical Archives. And it's just a card that sort of can get rid of, you know, your opponent's creatures. You have the kicker cost, but I never had the ability to pay the kicker cost and do 10 damage to a player. So it was mostly just to go in and take out a creature or two that was giving me trouble. I did not draw this card that often, so I wish I did. There we go. Lorehold Command. Actually, this card came in really, really handy. I actually mostly created the 3/2 spirit creature, and I either did the one where we got +1/+0 and indestructible and haste. That's really nice. And then sometimes I did the deal 3 damage, depending on the situation. So I never did the sacrifice to turn a permanent to draw 2 cards, but this card did very nicely for me. It wasn't a game-breaking card, but it was a really nice utility where I was able to sort of get a little bit ahead or win a battle. This was really nice, although it does cost 5, which is sort of expensive, but you get 2 things for it, so that worked out well. Leonin, this was actually the first card I drafted in the first pack. Kind of made me go off on that red-white mindset there. Well, at least the white. I could have gone black, I suppose, but I for sure was going to go red. Not a whole lot of people were going for red, and so I had picked a lot of the cards that I guess I could have wanted. But a Leonin Light Scribe, the first game, he actually did a lot. He got me close to the win, but actually at the end, the opponent had enough bigger creatures, guys that were larger than my smaller white and red guys, and unfortunately lost. But he gave a lot of creatures +1/+1. In my first and last games, he came in huge. In my second round, he came onto the board and he got just destroyed right away. My opponent did not want anything to do with Leonin, so that was kind of funny. He knew that this guy could be trouble if not dealt with quickly, and so that is true. And so he did really well. I wish I could have used him more. Academic Probation. This one is an interesting card. Actually, this card did well for me. It helped me further my way to victory in actually one of the games. It's a lesson, so I could get this out when using the learn keyword. And then it says choose target non-land permanent until your next turn. It can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. So that's a lot. It really binds up one of their guys on the field, and so this can actually save you or like really take out one of their best people on the field, one of the best creatures on the field. And so I think Academic Probation was a good pick for me. Actually, it was going by, and I think I was debating because I don't usually pick up this card, but wow, it did well, and it only cost 1 and 1. So I thought it was good value. The access tunnel was really nice in one game in particular, or actually 2 games in particular. Definitely helped me win during the games that I did win, because of its ability to allow a creature with power 3 or less not to be blocked. Especially trying to get all these little bits of damage in, and if they're starting to get their bigger creatures out, and I'm feeling like I can't attack, this access tunnel is going to allow me to attack and maybe do some damage. And it did. And so, especially towards maybe the end when they just have a few bits of life left, and I need to get through, and they have some bigger creatures out, this was really helpful. Plus, it gives you mana if necessary. Pigment Storm. This was a great removal card, dealing 5 damage. I just think this is a great overall card. It came in very handy a few times to remove creatures that were just getting a little bit more than I could handle, especially with my little guys. You know, guys like that are 2/2s or 2/1s or 1/2s, things like that. Expel, just a really nice removal spell. I actually ended up getting 2 of these. And so 2 expels was nice. It definitely helps. Everyone knows that being able to remove is, I think, super powerful. And when they go on the attack, when they tap, then you just kind of expel them. I had to save mana to make sure that I could make that happen. And so I made sure that I had the mana to use it. We have the Lorehold Campus. This is that land card. And, you know what's better, this or the Snarls? The Snarls are rare, but I actually really like these common dual sort of lands because of the ability down here. 4 and tap it, scry 1. If you have like leftover mana, scrying is just so great to be able to see what's coming up or to put it under the deck. Really, really cool. And I think this was really helpful. And so getting one of these to sort of be a land was great. It was useful many, many times. And I'm glad I got one. The Stone Rise Spirit. Why am I talking about Stone Rise Spirit? Well, it's a cheap flyer, 1/2. And actually, this card won me a game that went overtime. We had 5 turns left to go, and won on the last turn with the Stone Rise Spirit flying over the guy's bigger creatures that he had out and getting a +2, winning me the game. That was a lot of fun to be able to win on the final turn in overtime. So that was pretty sweet. Mascot Interception. I really love this card. Nobody ever picks this card. Whenever I see this card in drafts, like on Arena, it's always left over. Nobody wants to pick it up. But I think this card is really, really can win you the game, especially, you can take over. You always see these huge fractal creatures, or like, you see, a lot of tokens, maybe those 4/4s or spirits out there. You can take them over and get a +2, and they get haste, and you can use them to attack. And that's precisely what I did at the tournament. I was able to use this really effectively in 2 games. It came in really handy, took over a big creature, used it to attack for a good chunk of damage. That was really a lot of fun, to just use your opponent's creatures against them. That is super annoying. And this card is really annoying. They got tempted by the Auric, which actually just takes the creature. But you know what? That has a limitation on it, where it's I guess they can't have more than power 3 or something, or mana converted cost of 3. This, you can take whatever you want. It could be like that 2020 fractal creature that they just made, and you can take it over. Wow, that is amazing. And so this card was definitely a hero. Spirit Summoning, just the lesson. Okay, I think the rest of the cards I'm going to more breeze through because they weren't really used or as much. This was a lesson to learn. Lorehold Pledge Mage, I like him for first strike. Combat Professor was actually very useful. I think very powerful. He's got these 2/3 and flying, and he pretty much gives you +1 every time you attack, and not just on him, but on anybody. And Vigilance. Really great card right there. Guiding Voice. Fuming Effigy. Big guy, didn't do a whole lot. Pilgrim of Ages did a lot in terms of getting planes into my hand. That was nice. The Stonebound Mentor didn't do a whole lot. Tome Shredder did a little bit. Study Break. I was hoping Study Break would be more game breaking in terms of like, hey, I'm gonna tap a couple of your creatures. I think this card stalled me from losing too quickly a couple times, but it wasn't a game winner for me. The Relic Sloth didn't do a whole lot. Campus Guide was good for getting me the land I needed. I wish the Radiant Scroll Wielder was a bit better for me, but didn't do a whole lot for me. Pilgrim Shock, came in handy, of course. It's always useful. Revitalize, I put that in just to grab a card for me, and then I had the Eager First Year. That was the deck. And so those were the things that I had. Again, my funnest card to use was the Mascot Interception. I just think that card comes out of nowhere and can really surprise folks. The other thing I'll show you is, I guess, just the other cards that I had, that I drafted. The Warden, I was thinking maybe I could use him as a, to block flyers with that 5 or block anybody. But, the deck was more... I was trying to be more faster and like more or less defensive oriented, I suppose. So I took him out. Thrilling Discovery. It's nice to gain 2 life, discard cards, draw even more cards, but I always find that like I never have enough cards to discard, or I don't want to discard the cards, so I didn't put that in. First Day of Class, not much. Twin Scroll Shaman. I always think this guy might be great, but didn't do too much. I ended up getting 2 of those. First Day of Class, Enthusiastic Study, Make Your Mark, Guardians, Teach by Example, something I always want to use to like copy spells, but I always feel like I never have enough mana for that. The Archway Commons was something I could have put in, but I don't think I actually needed it. Star People, Star People is cool because, when they die, you can put their counters onto like your creatures, but I felt like I was playing guys with just their guys were too big. Their creatures were too big, and Star Pupils would have just been fodder. And a lot of them had Trample. They had Master Symmetrist out a couple times, and that just wouldn't. These guys would have done nothing. So there we have it for that. And now these are just the tokens I got. So there it is. That's what I played, and I really had a fun time playing in the tournament. Great getting some of these cards into the collection as well, and I really enjoyed it. There are some things that I wish I had a chance to use more, but it was a great time playing Lorehold. Let me know what you thought of the cards I drafted. I saw someone draft a Blade Historian after all was said and done. I was like, oh my gosh, that would have been so sweet to have in this deck, a Blade Historian. But that wasn't on the books for me. Thanks for watching this, and let me know any advice you might have for Magic. I'd love to hear it, and I'll see you guys next time.